Hey there. Hey there, everybody. I've got this apple, and I just wanted to explain. It's a Fiji apple, and I just wanted to explain why. So, I had this dream, and then the setup for this dream was that, and I think it's because my roommate has been talking about. He's a substitute teacher at a school, and he's been going in there. He's been talking about the situation with the disease and the school and whatever. So that's probably why it came into my mind. So I was in that situation back in high school, and I remember distinctly this dream. It lasted 2 separate days, and the first day doesn't matter too much, but just for setup's sake. First off, the school is weird. It's like not actually a school. I'm supposed to be going to classes, but actually what I'm doing with some other people is going to this big open like market area, and it had that kind of New York City vibe. At least that's what the dream is telling me, when the dream tells you that something is like something even when it's not. And in that marketplace, this is important. In that marketplace, there was some kind of, I'm not sure what to call it, a place that served food. They had food, they served food, but it was like a walk-in. It was kind of like when you walk in to the school cafeteria, and there's a bunch of food or whatever that you take. You take whatever you want, and then you pay for it at a certain place. It was like that. Probably kept with the running school theme. Anyway, first day, go there with my friends. All good. Nothing out of the ordinary, besides the fact that we're going from being in school to some place that's apparently in New York. That's it, but never mind that. That doesn't matter. The second day is what matters. On the second day, I'm on my own. I don't go to the marketplace with anybody else. And really, I'm deciding what to do, because at this point, it's come to my attention that I'm not really going to any classes. So clearly, I'm deciding to do something else. And of course, what else is there to do but go to this stall, kiosk, or whatever that I got food from the other day? Might as well, right? And I was thinking when I went there, I would get some kind of apple juice. Didn't really want anything to eat, just wanted some apple juice. And anyway, before I go in, I sit down at a table that's outside in this area where people eat. And there's these other kids that are sitting down at the same table I am. And they're talking. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't remember. All I do know is that I have them pinned for hooligans. And so, when I get up to go to the stall, of course, these little assholes, they get up too. They start talking about how they're going to the stall. And I'm like, okay, great. Now I'm going to go to the stall, and they're going to think I'm with these guys. But I'm not. I'm not some kind of random asshole. But I've already gotten up. I've committed to my decision. I'm going to the stall. Even if these guys go to the stall, I'm still going there. I don't care. I want my apple juice. Very important. Very important to me at this point. So I go to the stall and walk in. And when I walk in, of course, what's the first thing that happens? The guy who owns the stall, manages the stall, the guy who's there, at any rate, I don't know his official title. Probably something like that. It has to be. Right? It has to be. Because that's what the dream's telling me in my mind. That was the knowledge that I was given. And of course, you trust that knowledge. You don't question that knowledge. And so these guys, these boys, they walk in ahead of me. As they walk in, the owner, he makes some kind of comment. Like, are there 5 of you brothers? Very relaxed, but I can hear judgment in his voice. He knows the same thing I do, that these guys are hooligans. And of course, there were only 4 of them, I believe. So I'm being lumped in with them as per my fear. I didn't want that to happen. So I go into the stall. I peruse I don't really know what I want, besides for some kind of vague attraction to apple juice. And while I'm doing this, a couple of those boys, they go outside, out to the front of the stall, which was, I believe, facing a street or something like that. And they start messing with the sign or something like that out in the front. Because the owner of the store, he has to go out there. He has to tell them to knock it off. Hooligans messing with something on the storefront. And while he's gone, while they're out there, I spy what I now want on a shelf, on a metal rack on the bottom shelf, opposite the entrance, right below. There's an opening in the stall into the marketplace where you sit down, the cafeteria, whatever you want to call it. And so I go over there and I kneel down. I kneel down to the floor so I can get a better look at what's on this shelf. And it's apples. Huge apples. And I'm sitting there looking at these apples like, these apples are huge. And as I'm sitting there looking at them, contemplating if I really need an apple that big. And these were, we're talking like probably half my height or something, like 2.5 feet tall, and as wide as you would expect that to be. Apples. They were big. They were big apples. And as I'm looking at them, the owner, he comes back in, and I sense him. I sense his presence. He walks over to me and he kneels down. Right, so he's right next to me. And he starts talking, and he asks me if I'm interested in the apples, which, of course, I am. Of course, I'm interested in the apples. Who wouldn't be? They're enormous. And he says something about them. It's one of the apples. He wants me to choose now. One of the apples, and I'm struggling to remember exactly. One of the apples was supposed to be very, very delicious. Almost, in fact, I think it had the look of a Red Delicious. And for anyone who's ever had a Red Delicious, they're actually not very good. I don't know why they are referred to as being delicious, because they don't taste very good. At least, personally, I prefer other apples. But anyway, not the case for this one. This one was supposed to be one of the tastiest apples you've ever had, or so the stall owner was telling me. And you know what? I believed him, because my mind was telling me that this guy was trustworthy. He knew his apples, and a man who knows his apples is a man you can trust. And so the other apple that was there were two of them. That one was much more dangerous, much more risque. Now, I don't remember exactly what about it made it that way, but that's what I was being told. This was the information that the dream was telling me. It thought it was pertinent that I know. And I'm looking at these apples, and although this guy wants me to choose, I just can't resist. I want both of them. I want both of these apples. And so I tell him that. I want both of these. And he's kind of reluctant at first to give them both up to me, but eventually he does. I buy these two huge, enormous apples. And actually, before I leave, he cuts off a little slice of the one that he said was really good, and he gives it to me. And of course, it is really good. And that was the point that I was convinced I needed them. I needed these apples. And as I was leaving, he tried telling me something. Or rather, he tried alluding to something that was very important for me to know, which was that I should, under no circumstances, reproduce these apples. And he was saying it to me. He was saying it to me like it was some kind of down low, some kind of code, some kind of thing that he was alluding to. He was mentioning to me that maybe I should already know about it, but I don't, because he's making reference to some kind of apple trade, an illegal apple trade from Canada to the US. He's talking about this apple trade as if it's something that shouldn't be mentioned to anyone, and if I do mention it, I could face some consequences. And so Of course, I go along with it. I'm not going to dispute this man's knowledge. We've already established that he is a man who knows his apples. And so if he's talking about an underground apple trade, then you know what? I believe him. So anyway, I finally took them. I took these 2 apples, and now I've got a problem. I've got a big red problem. These things are too big for me to carry, but I don't have any help. I'm not really supposed to be here. I can't call anybody. And so, I just have to carry them. I just have to carry these apples all on my own. And mind you, trying to carry these apples, it's very difficult. One apple is probably as wide as my torso, and I've got to carry them both together. And I am managing to do that. But then I run across another problem, a bigger issue. These apples, they have some kind of root, like the kind of root that you'd expect from, a root vegetable, like a radish or something, except it's really long. So long that I'm tripping over this root. It's tripping me up. I can't walk. I can't make any progress because this root is in my way. So I have to do something about that. And here's where things get weird, is that I have to pick it up. And the problem wasn't. Now, I'm sure you're looking at this from the outside, and you're saying, well, how's he going to pick up the root if he's holding both apples with 2 hands? And that is not the question you should be wondering. The question you should be wondering is, how am I going to get the root when I pull it up with the hand that I'm supposed to be holding the apple with, that now I'm pulling the root up with, but the apple's still there. It's like I'm still holding it. It's like I haven't moved my hand. That's not the problem. The problem is that I'm trying to wrap the root around in the middle of the 2 apples, and it's sliding through back onto the ground. And if you want to know how I managed to actually get that root back up, I can't tell you. I didn't actually do it in a way that I could describe to you. It's just sort of something that I figured out, and it was uncomfortable. I didn't want to do it. I was trying to wrap it around the middle of the 2 apples because I didn't want to do this other thing, but that wasn't working, so I ended up having to do the more uncomfortable tactic. And again, I can't tell you what it is because I don't actually know what it is. It wasn't shown to me. And so I walk back through the market with these 2 big apples. And after a while, I start to re-enter the area of this plaza, I'll call it. That is the school from whence I came. And as I'm re-entering this area, it dawns on me that I haven't actually been going to any classes. And so as I'm passing through one of these hallways, I notice that there's a computers class going on in the hallway, like it does. Very normal. And I'm trying to think about what class I should be in, because I know that the arrangement of the classes on this day is an arrangement that I've missed entirely before. And it's been like a week. It's been like a week of me missing these classes. I've never even been to them. School just started. I've never been to these classes. And I know, and as we're walking by, the teacher is addressing the class, and there's one student, I guess everybody was partnered up, and there was one student who didn't have a partner, and this teacher was talking about, she was saying that maybe we'll take that guy and put him into this class, that guy being me. She was talking about me. Little did she know, I was actually in that class, but I just haven't been going to it. So I keep walking, but I do feel bad for that guy that I was supposed to be partnered with, but I didn't. He was a real guy. He was a real guy that I went to high school with. You have to understand. There were some real people in this. So I felt kind of bad about that. Anyway, you're probably wondering what happened to the apples, and I'm wondering the same thing, because at this point they're just gone. They're gone from the dream. They don't exist anymore. And I go back to the classroom, and I look at my schedule, and there's some sort of discussion going on in the classroom about the schedule, and that's about it. And the dream's over. And when I wake up from this dream, I wanted an apple, so I got one. I got an apple, and I came in here, and I ate that apple while I told this story.